We're here. People, we're here. Chris Mason, Sooners 360, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with Jason and the coach. You already know. Horns Down Podcast with me, Chris with a K. People, we got some stuff to talk about. You've probably already seen the news. Ben Arbuckle, the Washington State offensive coordinator, will be your next offensive coordinator here at the University of Oklahoma. And that seems to obviously be the talk of the town. That seems to be, to me, it kind of seems 70-30 right now. 70% are excited. The other 30% are probably wishing Craddock or Faulkner could have been the guy. But I'm excited. I think I can speak for maybe Chris Mason and say he's excited. Not necessarily sure where Jason's going to go, but people, I think we got our guy. And I'm really excited. Watch more film, kind of on the offense. Just really focus on the quarterback. Really like the quarterback play. Like the quarterback play a lot. Not talking strictly about material. I'm just talking about the mechanics. I'm talking about just how fresh that offense looks. To be honest with you, please don't take these words and run with it and think that I'm trying to like dumb it down to this. It looks like a high-powered Big 12 offense. Not a high-powered Big 12 offense of this era. I'm talking about back in the era where they used to put up a lot of numbers passing-wise. To me, it does. It's an explosive offense. It can be. He schemes guys open. You've heard Chris Mason say it for the longest. But, and matter of fact, that's where we'll go first. We'll go to Chris Mason simply because behind the green screen, we were talking an awful lot, and I kept hearing a lot of smoke about it's Craddock, it's Faulkner, it's Craddock, it's Faulkner. Hey, it's Craddock and it's Faulkner. Hey, it's either one of those, right? Faulkner being a guy from Georgia Tech, Craddock from Tulane. A lot of people were excited about both of them, and rightfully so. I think Craddock has a good offense, a good system going down there. Faulkner, I think we've seen what they've done with Georgia Tech and getting the best out of Haynes King, taking Georgia to 8 overtimes, all of those different things, kind of really running a true power spread, damn near a triple option at times, right? But through it all, talking to Chris Mason, he kept saying, hey, this guy blew Brent away in the interview. So, Chris Mason, the floor is yours.
Well, I think there's a lot of discussion whether if Arbuckle was the number one guy or not the number one guy. And I'm certainly not telling you that I've got a source in the room telling you anything different. But I would say that based upon what I heard, Arbuckle blew away his interview. And they did multiple interviews. They interviewed 5. They were going to stick with interviewing 5 candidates. I know 4 of them. I don't know the 5th. Not really sure it matters at this point. But Arbuckle blew away his interview. I think, I don't know exactly, but Bob Stoops was heavily involved in the interview process as well. And they did a multi-panel interview. So they did they had a lot of rigor and process around this to try and make sure they got enough information on the guys. Interviewed them multiple times, get a lot of feedback, and Arbuckle nailed the interview stage of this. So I would find it stunning to believe that if you're going to go through this kind of process and interview somebody several times and have multiple folks interview them, the topic of how are you going to mold your offense into a scheme that will work in the SEC, I'd be stunned if that didn't come up at least once or twice or 3 or 4 times when you were interviewing him. So for those folks who are all like, he's going to run an air raid, throw 75% of the time, it's just not sustainable in the SEC. And we've just gone through a gauntlet of SEC defensive lines with NFL potential. So from that standpoint, I think Arbuckle is, as he said in some of the comments I've seen, he comes from 3 traditions: the air raid, pro style, and West Coast. Those are his 3 mentors, and he, and that's how he likes to meld his style based upon that. So the only downside I see to this right now is if you hear an interview from him, he sounds almost exactly like Lincoln Riley. It's uncanny. I mean, he's from Canadian Texas, which is I'm told nowhere near Muleshoe, I guess, but
oh, it ain't that far, but it's not like right around the corner necessarily.
200 miles is what somebody told me. So, which I guess isn't that far for Texas, but whatever. So that's the only negative on that. Obviously Mateer, if he can bring a quarterback with him, that would be ideal based upon our old unanimous belief here that, Brent can't gamble on the quarterbacks, starting the quarterbacks that we saw this fall, at least. He can't gamble on those two guys. So if he brings Mateer with him, I think that's a value add. But the guy is the number one reason I'm happy, Chris, is Arbuckle played quarterback. He is a quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator. And for the most part, OU has had their most success when you've had that combination. Going. That seems to be the most successful offensive coordinator combination that's generally out there. So we now know whoever our quarterbacks are for the next 9 months before we have to play a football game again, they are going to get full-time coaching from the offensive coordinator who is also the quarterback coach. And I think that's the right fix for a lot of what I think OU's problems were this fall. I mean, it's hard to just identify one problem. I use the phrase that the OU offense was like a dam with 5 big holes in it. And
watch where you going. Watch where you going with that.
All right. Well, so just like it's like a collapsing. It's like a collapsing wall. It's got 5 weak points in it, and you need to shore up. You need to shore up the areas that are broken. That's all. And it's sometimes a problem.
Hey, Chris, he's a child.
I know he is. I know he is. Chris, I'll send you a video where some English soccer guys, European soccer guys are talking about the French soccer team of Brest, and they're talking all about that, and they're all chuckling and breaking down. So I'll be sure to send you that. But let's just say that the structure behind the OU offense is collapsing in 5 areas, and it seems like a daunting problem, right? Which one do you go first? You just got to buckle down and fix one problem first, and getting a real offensive coordinator in here who's a quarterback coach and can develop quarterbacks. That's fix one, right? There are other things that are just as important that got to get fixed, but we've got fix one in place, and hopefully we're going to get some stability. That'll add some stability back to our offensive scheme and that side of the ball. So it's a huge start on getting in the right direction.
So Jason, let's get to the super chat, obviously.
Thank you, Neilio. Congrats on the new OC. Our boy from KC, Mo, K-State guy. Big friend of the program, though. Neilio, thank you for the super chat.
Shout out to Neilio. So Jason, people in here asking you think JA is still leaving?
I don't have any I don't have any.
Hold on. They're asking that. They're also asking Duke Silver soon. I like that. DeMarco, Joe John, Beatonbow, and Jones will be retained. Different things like that. So I want you to give us your spiel, your initial thoughts about the hire of Arbuckle. Where does J.A. fit in with Arbuckle? Does he fit in with Arbuckle? What are your thoughts on that? And then just also with some of these coaches, and we'll open it up to the panel just to kind of talk about who's all going to be retained, who's not, just kind of the speculation around that.
You know what? I think that he fits in? No, I think he's leaving. I'm not sticking. I'm sticking to exactly what I've been saying about J.A. I think he's gone. I think he's been gone. I think he's been gone since Tennessee. I don't know that this was the offense that makes him stay around or anything like that. Now, he has been saying all the right things, and maybe I could be completely off on it. No 2 ways around it. But to me, it just feels like they're probably bringing this kid with him. Mateer, if you look at his stats, he had a hell of a season. Washington State, I think they were 12th in scoring offense, 22nd in total offense, 24th in pass offense. That is, of course, in the Mountain West Conference, a little bit different. It feels like, to me, it wasn't my first choice out of these guys. I mean, I think everybody knows what my first choice was, and then I had a list, but when it got down to the three that we were hearing about, where it was either Arbuckle, Craddock, or our guy over there at Georgia Tech, I was probably on Craddock. I think I wanted to see them go to more of a pro style, pro spread, whatever you want to call it. I was kind of more into that. But I will say this. If what they're trying to do is recreate the Lincoln Riley offense in Norman, you could do worse. You could do worse. If he runs the football, if they're able to have a better, as Chris Mason was just telling us, if you have a better balance of play calling and even closer to 50-60% even of running versus throwing the ball, I think it can work here. It's just, and Duke Silver Sooners one of the guys that's been on this for a while saying Arnold has gone to Ole Miss, bookmark it. He's been saying it. I know that Ole Miss has a really good second quarterback as well, so I don't know that he gets to play there right away either, but I just haven't believed that he was coming back anyway. I just didn't think it mattered. I think he's played the good soldier, and that's what it is. I don't hate the idea of having a young guy like this who's innovative. He's a quarterback himself. He was very good at what he did playing at West Texas A&M. I like the guy, and you're going to re-energize this offense that was just absolutely putrid this entire year. It can't get worse, guys. It just flat out can't get worse. I can't imagine that it could be worse. If you look at what they were as an offense this season, I'll just read off a few numbers to you here. I can find the damn graphic. Okay.
Share it if you want.
Okay, let's do that.
While he's pulling that up, Duke Silver Sooner says Arbuckle needs to just be decent. All we need is an effective, efficient offense. We don't need a world beater offense to win next year. And I think that you could do that. I think some of those close games that you lost this year, you can win next year. And I think you can win in a dominant fashion as well. But you're going to obviously have to help the defense a little bit, kind of nurse the defense just a tad bit at some spots. Offensively, though, I don't think it's a big overhaul, but still, as you can see right now with these numbers here, Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't have to get a whole lot better to be a damn sight better. Total offense 118th, pass offense 121st, first downs 106th, pass yards per completion 131st, same in yards per play 131st, fumbles lost last in FBS.
Well, if you're going to be the worst, be the best at worst, right?
Right. It was that bad. And look, and these are updated as of, from the weekend. So this is the real deal right here. These guys have not looked good in even the ones where they're tied for interceptions. You know why they're tied for 8th in interceptions thrown? Because they don't throw the ball to them. Yeah, they don't throw the football. So you got to be able to beat them in more ways than one. You cannot be one-dimensional. I think that this is definitely a situation where you're going to be able to do some things offensively that they didn't have a chance to do this year. Period. The air raid, whether or not it can work in the SEC, I don't know. We hadn't seen a ton of it work. We did see that. Obviously, Mike Leach went 9-4 his last year at Mississippi State. But I don't think it can be a true air raid. I think that you can run the system the way you want, but it has to be Lincoln's version of that, where you run the damn ball downhill. You spread out the linemen, you push, and you get a good push and get downhill. Period. You got to run the football. I don't hate it. It's not necessarily my home run hitter, offensive coordinator hire, but I don't hate it.
So Dustin West says people who think that the air raid can't work in the SEC seem to forget that the air raid dominated the most elite conference of the early 2000s. That's true. You could say that, but times have changed. I think my only counter to that is that Nick Saban realized, hey, I can't have 250, 260-pound linebackers chasing Percy Harvin around the field. That cannot happen. Right? Like I can't go out there and LaMichael James is just going to run right past him the entire time. So, changing that way. So, I mean, you could run the air raid. I mean, you could run a spread offense. You can run a true spread. Look at Sark. Look at what Sark is doing in Texas, right? Sark wants to spread you out. Sark wants to run a lot of cute stuff, but he also, I mean, he wants to try to run the ball. Let's just be real. But a lot of the RPO, different things like that. I mean, he's running offense. You can run offense here. Hell, to be honest with you, God rest his soul, Mike Leach. Mike Leach was successful in bits at Mississippi State. Now, that's not to say he was going out there winning 8, 9 ball games a year, but that's not to say he wasn't giving teams hell and wasn't making them, hey, we got to prepare for this, right? And even at that, you can say, hey, was Mike Leach still really energized or really about, the football like he was? It was just Mike Leach, same old, right? But at the end of the day, I really like the hire, Jason. I really do. 29 years old, young guy. I watched the offense, and I think to myself, I said, it can be explosive. He can run the ball when he needs to. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of the design run, simply because I felt like we saw a lot of that and it really backfired on us this year. But he had a quarterback who had the swagger, had all the rest of the stuff. I talked to a guy today. Shout out to Jay from Mount Fair Sports with his Discord. Jumped in there and was talking to a couple of guys, and they were all talking about, oh, well, I don't know why. If Material was going to come here, I don't know why he would. I mean, he's a less talented JA. I'm like, but then he made the point of, well, he goes through his progressions better than JA. Obviously, he's better now. Dylan Gabriel. Jackson Arnold is way more talented than Dylan Gabriel. He has the highest upside of all 3 quarterbacks that we're talking about right now. However, the problem is that their simple mechanics, their simple their way to progress through these reads and all the rest of this stuff, they're a level above him right now. And that's a sad thing to say, but that's the truth of the matter. We don't have time to wait. If you are a fan of Brent Venables, if you think that Brent Venables is the coach, right now, I'm not going to hit the panic button, but it's damn near close to that. You have to help BV. You have to, and you have to hope that this works. And on top of that, yet again, people, here's another quarterback that could potentially come here, right? That already knows the system. So while the coaches can't coach the kids during the summer, guess who can take them on retreats and all the rest of the stuff and work with the receivers to learn the lingo, learn the routes, learn all the different things and mechanics of this offense to get it going. People, we need fixes, and this is not going to happen overnight. This is going to be a winter, spring, and summer thing. If you are not in for the long run, it's going to be a long offseason for OU, I'm telling you. But regardless, though, I like the Mateer kid. I think Jackson can run this offense. Look, watching the offense, I don't see why Jackson Arnold couldn't be here and we couldn't get the best out of Jackson Arnold. It's really a mind thing with him. If he wants to leave, I wish him the best. We got to do what's best for OU at this point right here. But back to Arbuckle. Like I said, I like the offense. I like the plays down the field. You could make plays. There's some improvisation that has to happen in the offense. What offense doesn't have that these days? But when I watched the offense, I and people, please do not take this out of proportion. Or context, excuse me. I kind of felt like, damn, I feel like I'm watching Lincoln and Baker work again, because at some points he sits back, drops back, dropping dimes down the field, just throwing dudes open. Guys are getting schemed open. And then at some points, hell, they're just having to make plays. They're just making stuff up as they go. And I was just like, that's fun football. You didn't see any of that at OU this year. Hell, you didn't see a lot of that last year, even though we were winning, but especially this year, you didn't see that. So I like the Arbuckle hire. Faulkner, I felt like with Faulkner, to be honest with you, if we were going to do that, we might as well keep Joe John. Joe John is showing you he can run that style of offense with the limited weapons that we had. And then also Craddock, I just kind of felt like, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, Arbuckle only scored 14 points against Wyoming. But I will say, when Craddock went against better competition, even in Memphis, it just felt like it was a struggle bus. So that's just kind of my piece, people.
So everybody seems to be so obviously Brent put out a statement, and everyone is, I think, overreacting a little bit to the apparent. Brent says that Arbuckle will be working with the offensive staff, and he lists the assistant coaches, right? And I think everyone's jumping to some assumption that this is a announcement that everybody is going to be here next fall, right? And I mean, if I've worked in organizations before where new executive vice presidents were announced, and it was announced that the following directors will be reporting to that person, and then 2 weeks later, Director X will be leaving the company to pursue other opportunities. When you announce a new hire, you do not also announce someone being fired. It doesn't work that way. You don't want the focus to be taken off the hiring of the new person. So the fact the rest of the people got this badge of approval, and I'm mainly talking, Jason and I can go another hour arguing about DeMarco Murray all we want, but Joe John Finley has just been demoted. He's not going to be the offensive. I mean, Arbuckle is the offensive coordinator.
The solo in Starkville within a week. Come on.
So this is simply Brent PR 101. You do not make the story Joe John Finley leaving. The story today is Arbuckle being hired. So and Joe John may end up calling the ball game. And that's just the reality of where we are, right? We don't know who's going to be around for the ball game and whatever. So I would say if you're like freaked out that Joe John Finley was mentioned in that email in the announcement, just sit back. Just sit back. Change. I think something's coming. It's if you're Joe John Finley, you've got to have more pride than just stick around and be the tight end coach at OU next fall. After being core and calling plays. So hold your anxiety about Joe John Finley being an added announcement from Brent, because that's just the way organizations work, guys. Watch something happen in the next couple of weeks, as Jason said. When Joe John, finds something else, he'll move on, and there'll be a nice statement from Brent that we're sorry to see Joe John Finley depart. He was a key part of my team, and I'm happy for the contributions he made to OU football while he pursues other endeavors. I mean, it writes itself. So just don't freak out about that, Sooner fans. If you're like, why is Joe John Finley mentioned there? Well, just give the organizational process a couple of weeks.
Let's shift to this right here, because it seems like a lot of people are saying this. Have you guys heard anything about this?
Yes.
As far as the K-State tight end coach?
Yeah, he's Brian Lepak is a former OU offensive lineman. His brother is, I think, like a doctor or a lawyer in the OU. He's a I think his brother is a professor at OU. So at Oklahoma, so he has lots of ties to OU. Obviously, K-State, we like what they do with low-ranked tight end recruits, turning them into weapons. I mean, K-State tight ends have been weapons forever, right?
Hell, blockers at that.
And blockers as well. So, I think if you're asking me, is that a good hire? Yes, I would make that hire. I would I'd hire Brian Lepak as tight end coach barring someone else at tight end coach, who I don't have a list of Rolodex of tight end coaches.
I'll jump in and just say this right here. We could talk nationally if you want, but I would look right there in the heartland, right there, up there in the Midwest, right? Wherever you want to say it's at. Anywhere between K-State and Iowa State, I'll take those. I was tight end coach, but I take those coaches any day, because you're gonna get solid tight end play out of those guys. Yeah, Iowa's for sure. They're putting guys in the league, blocking tight ends, catching tight. Whatever type of tight ends you want. That's the thing. We got to get back to that, people. And I think that you can. And we said, excuse me, we said earlier this year at some point when Latrell was fired and all the rest of that stuff, when the speculation started happening, a new OC by default is bringing you not only a new tight end, not only a new tight ends coach, but a new tight end, period, right? And probably a new quarterback. So, these are things that we got to start looking at, people. But I think that's great. If we can get that guy, that's great. That's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. What did they have? 11 touchdowns this year, I saw.
Mm-hmm.
On tight ends. Yeah, they look good. I think that would work. Yeah, 11. Yeah, Topher said it. Thank you, Topher. I think that, look, it's just like you said, the upcoming days, you're going to start finding this stuff out. And Chris Mason said it exactly right. They never, ever announce a hire and a fire in the same day. They just don't do it. It's just bad. That's bad PR 101. So you want to focus on what, the positive stuff that you got coming forward. Now, us as fans, we want to jump on everything and be negative about the whole nine. But, I would think that in the end, they're going to work out this staff in the coming days. It sounds to me, I don't think that there was ever a time that you were going to see Bill Bedenbaugh or EJ leave, Emmett Jones. Neither one of those guys were ever really in danger of going anywhere.
They're both great. Sorry, Jason, to interrupt. They're both great fits, right, for what he wants to do. They are all
absolutely.
They're for what Arbuckle wants to do. Arbuckle will tell Bill Bedenbaugh what he wants to do, and Bill will go, "Yeah, no worries. I got this, kid. I can do this."
Exactly. And then the same with EJ. He worked with Zach Kitley up until last year, so they've all been in the, these air raid guys are all in the same little, family or whatever you want to call it. They all kind of sprung from the same place, or, little patches of it here and there, but they've all come from the Leach tree somewhere, somehow. So I don't think that, and that includes Bill Bedenbaugh. He's basically considered the godfather of all offensive line coaches for the air raid. So
he's the only decent one, right? He's the only really good one.
Decent one. The only decent one. That's right. So I would just say that you're looking at a situation where this should not be that tough to kind of pull together as far as your staff is concerned and really kind of implement this offense and get it going in the direction you want to go in. My question would be, do you actually, are you able to kind of move it into the running phase? And I think that that's another part that's great about having Big Bill, because of him being with Lincoln Riley for as long as he was. He knows how to run that scheme part of it. I don't hate the hire. I don't hate the hire. I think that it's one of those things that, as far as I wouldn't sweat the portal either, guys. There's freaking receivers everywhere.
There's receivers, there's offensive linemen there. The transfer portal is just beginning to get crazy, guys. We need to talk behind the screen, just kind of like, hey, this drop, that drop. But one thing I want to say is this right here is one thing that cannot happen this year. And BB, this is on you. But this is on all the coaches, but BB, this is on you. For some odd reason, if you ever catch wind of this podcast, I don't know your business. We don't know your business truly, but I will say this. You can't have all these coaches disconnected like they allegedly were with Latrell, right? At times you heard about it with Levy, but it wasn't as apparent, or it wasn't as bad as you've seen with Latrell. Let the players play. Let Bedenbaugh play the players that he thinks that he needs to play. You gotta let the talent play, and you gotta that's the only way that they're truly going to develop. This is the NIL era. Contrary to some people like Nick from Nino's Corner, my guy, he wants to sit here and say, "Oh, Jackson Arnold just needed another year on the bench." We do not live in that world anymore. This is the NIL era. If I'm giving you $10 million, I'm giving you $5 million. If I'm giving you $2 million, you're going to play. Look at Billy Napier down there. Graham Mertz was great to start the season because you thought, hey, he can't be any worse than what he was last year. Statistically, he was really good. Lagway is the answer and has been the answer. Let the talent play. Your job is on the line. Don't go out fluffing the pillows. Go out fighting. Shoot everybody in sight. Rambo everything. Now, don't go do that literally, kids. But seriously, do what you got to do to get yourself out of the hole, people. But we can't come in here with having coaches saying, oh, this kid should play, that kid should play. We are not Texas Tech. We do not fumble 5 stars, people. We don't do that. What are we talking about? But another thing that I'll say as well, Arbuckle, it's time. You got to get things going. Why? Illinois State is going to be amazing first game. Second game of the season, I promise you, it's going to be a physical game. Michigan is coming to town, people. That's going to be a physical game, okay? We can score. I'm sure that they're going to go out there and get them a durable quarterback. They may go get Miller Moss, and that would make my freaking day. But regardless, they're going to try to go get them a passer so they can add passing back to the offense. Regardless, that's going to be a physical game. That's going to be 2 defenses that cancel each other out. Offense is going to be the X factor of that game, and it's going to go to whoever's having the better day, not only running the ball but being able to pass the ball, which both teams were capable of doing this year. Panel?
No, I mean, I think I think Arbuckle needs to come in. He's got 9 months to rebuild what was just torn down in over the last 12 months. And I think, again, I'm just stressing the fact that he played the quarterback position. He is an OC. He is a quarterback coach. That's the grounding we need to rebuild this thing from the ground up, right? That we got somebody who is going to coach up the quarterbacks full time and knows what he's doing. And I mean, we could talk air raid, whatever, but we can't. It's clear that Arbuckle knows how to coach the quarterback position. He's got his experience there, having played quarterback, and that's his background. It's a huge reestablishment of the foundation of rebuilding our offense. And then I think one element where I think Brent kind of was maybe leaning towards this sort of nouveau Lincoln Riley approach is that, Brent's on the hot seat, and the biggest bounce is with this kind of guy who melds well with EJ, with Bill Biedenbaugh, and we'll figure out what's going on with DeMarco and the running backs. But those 3 groups will easily fit into what Arbuckle wants to do. Like, those coaches will be able to translate what he wants at a fairly easy level, right? Like Bill, it's not going to take Bill like months to figure out what Arbuckle wants in terms of how the O-line.
Learn a new language or any of that other kind of stuff, a new playbook. The playbook is going to have a lot of the same kind of calls, a lot of the same schemes. All that stuff is going to be normal for these guys. Yeah,
so those guys will quickly be able to integrate this new offense and help Arbuckle get this put in place, translate it, and coach it up. And I think that's, I think I like everyone. I watched Faulkner on Friday night, right? And I loved what he was doing with limited talent at Georgia Tech, taking a much more talented Georgia team to the, we talked about that on our post-game podcast, taking Georgia to the limit, to the mattresses. So I like that, but I'm not sure that we have the offensive line or the H-backs or the tight ends to really pull off some of that stuff that Faulkner was doing. So Brent doesn't have a 2-year adjustment period for a whole brand new offensive scheme. We don't have that personnel. We don't have the time. He doesn't have the time for that. He needs to get this offense re-rolling again. And the guy he chose, I think, has the best chance of getting the best results the fastest. Now, maybe that's not the longest term answer you want to have, but if you're Brent and you're coaching for your job, which we all think he is, Everybody is, but we don't think he's on that kind of hot seat. I'm thinking this guy melding with the guys I know and trust can get the best results out of what we have currently on the roster and what we can add from the portal. I can't turn this into Michigan tomorrow, right? That's a longer term recruiting kind of practice and trying to get
run over everybody kind of offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you can't shift to that overnight. We don't have the personnel.
That took Harbaugh years and almost got his ass fired.
Exactly. I mean, other than Xavier Robinson and maybe Eddie Pierre-Louis, we don't have the personnel that are designed to really kind of do that. So I think this was a good hire for Brent to say, look, I'm pretty sure my defense next year is going to be as good or, going to be in the same region as the defense this year, right? I know we lose some big pieces, but there are also some players that are on the up on the defensive side of the ball. So if I have we were a top 10 adjusted for opponents defense in the country, like number 7 before LSU kicked our ass. We were, so maybe we're down to like number 10, right? But we're like a number 10 adjusted for opponent defense in the country, right? If you give us just an offense that can score points and stop falling behind by 3 touchdowns, so our defense is pressing, trying to make the big play, giving up big plays on the field too long. So if we can get just to a good offensive level, and the quickest approach to that, I think, is the guy he hired based upon the talent and the personnel he thinks he has. This shouldn't be like, wow, we're lost. This is old scheme. This scheme's totally confusing and all that. This should be, like I said, Arbuckle should say, Bill, I want you to do this. And Bill's like, yeah, I got it, kid. Go work on the other guys. I know exactly what you want to do.
Explain what you're saying, Martin Diablo, and then we'll talk about that. But I want to go back up to what Carvin said. Don't give up on Jackson Arnold. Why are we so in love with 5 stars? Why are we so in love with stars, that are on recruiting lists that don't mean shit? They're all about, look, these guys.
Because we see Cam Coleman, we see Jeremiah Smith, we see guys like that are 5 stars. David Stone.
And some of those guys are, but there's a lot of them that don't turn out to be that. And guess what? What did those 5 stars get you this year? What did it get you? It got the 118th total offense and 121st passing offense. I mean, let's just be real, 90-second scoring offense. They weren't getting it done in there. And look, I'm not going to tell you that I don't think that it's not that I don't think he's fixable. I don't think you have time for that shit if you're Brent Venables. I don't think you have time for it.
You don't. You can't rely upon it, and you can't.
If he stays and is willing to battle it out and proves that he's the guy, then fine. I don't think that's happening, but fine. I think that it's just one of those things that you have to know that this business is it's quick business. You either get it done or you don't. And especially with quarterbacks, when's the last time you can remember? There's a few, and we named this on my show yesterday, but there's only a few guys that have been at the same school that they started out at, particularly with quarterbacks lately. Going back to Oklahoma quarterbacks, hell, which one did? It just doesn't happen very often. And I'm not just, it's not about whether he got a fair shake or not either, Zofix. That's not what I'm saying. Yes, it was a shit show from the top to the bottom. There's no 2 ways around it. I'm not blaming it on him. What I'm telling you is, the standard at Oklahoma is that if the play breaks down, you get better. You get better outside the pocket. It doesn't bother you that the play's broken down. You just can't do it. You can't wait around. And if you're Brent Venables, I think he's in deep shit, man. If you go 7-5, the chances are you do get fired.
Here is what he on the. Yeah, okay, so you answered his question already. But here, in his defense, Zofix, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but my brother, you said I can't criticize Arnold He did not get a fair shake. And then Tom Hill, Tom Hill, these two go hand in hand. He says, the great quote from Arbuckle is he designs and set his offense around the player's talents and abilities. He doesn't seem to be determined to run a specific type of offense. Love that. Now, Seth Luttrell, if for some odd reason you watch this podcast, please pay close attention to this. Simply because it never felt. This is not only stuff that all three of us have heard. This is stuff that we've saw, that we watched time and time again through those first 7 games of the season. It never felt like you did any of this for Jackson Arnold. Like you never sat down with him and said, hey, this is what I want to do for you. Tell me what works the best for you, right? It always felt like press. Let's do this. Let's do that. It never felt like you took the time to do anything except for when Hawkins was in the game. And so this is something that I've always lived by, something that's always stuck with me. My uncle, I'm surprised he hasn't come in here yet. Maybe he has, but he always would tell me, hey, it doesn't matter if you're coaching a team at the Y, a little kids team or whatever. You got watch them run up down the court for a week. I mean, for an hour. See what your players can do. See what your limits are, especially what your weaknesses are, but see what your strengths are. And then figure out what offense you need to run. Don't go out there trying to run excuse me. Don't go out there trying to run the triangle offense with 5-year-olds. Like that's not going to work. You can't do that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Jackson Arnold, I'm not going to say he was set up to fail, but he wasn't necessarily set up to succeed as well. And
it happened the way that it happened. It's not like any of us hates him or wants to see him not succeed wherever he's at. I hope he does. I hope he goes and kills it wherever he ends up. I really do. I just don't think that place is here. And circumstances dictate what's going to happen. The situation that BV's in, you don't have time to, unless he just, bets on himself and is willing to say, hey, we're ready. I'm going to go battle this out and win this damn job. I mean, if you do that, then yeah, sure, go ahead. But that more puts it on Jackson Arnold than it puts it on Brent Venables, right? Because you're not owing this kid anything necessarily. He knows right up front that, hey, you got to go win the damn job. That's the difference. I agree with what everybody's saying about, the best coaches put their players in the best position for their skill set. I agree with that.
So, I mean, I think, Jason, to just echo a little bit of what you're saying about Jackson Arnold, and we all agree Arnold's been put in a bad situation with bad resources. But, I was listening to Gabe and Teddy today, and they were reviewing a little bit of the LSU, some of their LSU recap. And both Gabe and Teddy are like, look, he has time. He has open receivers. And this is the LSU game, right? With our beat up O-line, and I don't even know who's playing wide receiver any longer. And they're like, he has time. People are open. He's not going through his reads and finding the open receivers. And this is the LSU game. LSU did everything to stop the run. There were receivers open, and Jackson was not finding them consistently. Most of his running yards was not the QB run game. It was scrambles where he was not finding open receivers. And at some point, that's on. This is game 12. If he can't scan the field when he has time and find an open receiver, I'm not sure there's an offensive coordinator in the country that fixes that.
Right. Zach Kittley accepted the head coaching job at FAU. I hadn't even seen that, but that, I guess.
Yeah.
Hold on. Guys, chat, don't get mad. We're gonna get back to it real quick, okay? Next up, we're gonna talk a little bit about portal. We'll do recruiting as well. Let's do recruiting, then portal. Did you guys hear? Okay. Did you guys hear what's happening, what could potentially be happening down there in Stilly, right? In Stillwater. Now, I'm going to gossip a little bit. I'm going to go to the rumor mill simply because this was passed to me by some Stillwater people that I do trust. Supposedly, now people, I want the chat. I want y'all to tell me yay or nay if this is going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I heard that he has two options down there: either fire his entire staff or step down. I don't see either one of those happening. I don't know what's going to go down there. All I know is when Norman's on fire, it's great to see Stillwater is already done. The town is already burned down to the ground.
Yeah, it's already been leveled.
I don't know what's going to happen down there, but
And
that's what I heard today.
And a manure fire is just awful. I mean, when shit burns, it's just terrible. When animal shit burns, it's just awful.
I love it.
I'm just saying. That's people. That's what I heard. I'll say it again. All right. I'm not scared to say this room. I heard he has two options: fire his entire staff, hire who they want him to hire, or go ahead and just let.
I would believe that for sure. I would believe that if T. Boone Pickens was still around. I don't know that the rest of those guys have the stones, right? I just don't know that they have the stones. Now, are they pissed? Yeah. Should they be? Hell yeah, they should be pissed off. I would be. And not only that, this is, man, I've been saying this a lot lately. Brent Venables is accountable to a damn fault. Mike Gundy doesn't know what accountability is.
He probably thinks it's I'm not going to make that joke. I'll
He
ask
doesn't
that
know
joke.
what accountability is. The guy.
I am worried about Chris now, though, because if he's been hanging out with OSU folks,
hey,
look,
I
mean, let me finish. I'm very concerned about you. You've been down on the, you've been looking a little, under the weather. So now I'm concerned that you've picked up some sort of bovine flu or something from OSU people there. So.
Look, I'm just telling you, man. I'm just telling you.
OSU melting down. I mean, they returned what, 18 starters, some ridiculous number like that. I mean, it was, that's a complete mess. I don't know that Gundy. He certainly isn't interested in recruiting his way out of it. He certainly isn't interested in recruiting his way out of it. I can tell you that.
Why would you let that guy touch your animals, man? Satterfield, what's the matter with you?
See, people. See, we talk serious with Debbie Downers, but we can laugh too, and we can laugh at others. It's perfectly fine.
The smell of manure is very.
You want a little recruiting? You want a little recruiting news?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. So obviously,
Nad cow disease. Well done, sir. Well done.
So obviously, the rumor that OU had sort of cut loose Grayson Harris seems to have landed. He decommit. I don't know where he's going. So OU appears to have separated from Marcus Harris and Grayson Harris. Now, it looked like we'd be down to two wide receivers because it looked like Cortez Mills was going to flip to Nebraska. But right before we came on this podcast, he's posting on his Instagram images from his OU photo shoot from his official visit. So I don't know if OU took the Harris NIL money and just said, hey, Mills, we're going to up our NIL money to you a little bit. And he looked at that and went, okay, well, now you're trying. So I'd rather stick with you than go to Nebraska because that's just, really, I mean, you want to lose to Iowa on a field goal kick? Okay. Or Nebraska let loose their wide receiver coach when they promoted Holgo. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he's sticking with OU, but 24 hours ago, everyone says Cortez Mills was not going to be a Sooner. Now he's posted one image on social media, and everyone's like, maybe he is. So if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have told you the three wide receivers I wanted to keep from that group would have been Elijah Thomas, Manny Choice, and Cortez Mills. Probably Cortez Mills first. I love Elijah. I love Elijah Thomas from Chakotah. I think he's going to be an awesome Sooner. He'd probably be 1B or 1. I mean, Mills and ET, I can't really pick between them. Choice would have been third. Fourth would probably have been Marcus Harris, and fifth would have been Grayson Harris, because I don't know what Grayson gives you that the other guys don't already provide. So, if OU can keep Cortez Mills, keep Manny Choice, and Elijah Thomas is going nowhere. But to me, Elijah Thomas is in that Ryan Broyles, Sterling Shepard kind of category. I'll be stunned if he's not like a 4-year great Sooner. Like, it's just those guys, those kind of guys just always hit for us. It just works. It works that way. So that's what's going on recruiting.
Can I jump in here real quick? I was just
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You still got to sell those kids as well on, hey, new coach, new hire, injuries.
Yeah.
There's chances to get on the field. There's chances to play. There's chances to going up a lot of the different stuff. So two things I want to unpack. So first off, are you hearing anything about this Florida trying to flip Cortez Mills, which we've all heard it. But second off, you just share your thoughts on that quickly. And then second off, why did we separate from Marcus Harris? I think a lot of people are really excited about.
He's a baseball player, isn't he? Or which one?
Yeah, the kid, yeah. I mean,
No. Grayson Harris is a baseball player.
Grayson Harris, yeah.
Two double sport. I think Marcus. So the general feeling that's been floated around is that they are aggressively reviewing commits and players, and the mantra is, are you going to help me win football games in 2025? If the answer is no, then you got to be reevaluated. And if you're at five high school wide receivers versus 3 high school wide receivers and 2 impact portal players towards the roster numbers makes a lot more sense than 5 high school guys. I mean, Grayson Harris and Marcus Harris, really good, talented wide receivers. If you were just in a position where you're not, singing for your supper next year, you could keep them and redshirt them. But they're wide receivers. 2026, I can name 5 wide receivers you should sign in 2026. You can always add high school wide receivers and high school talent from the wide receiver pool. So, for my opinion, can Elijah Thomas help us next year? Hell yes. Could Manny Choice help us next year? Hell yes. Could Cortez Mills help us next year? Yes. Marcus Harris? Maybe. Grayson Harris? I don't think so.
No.
So I think that's a calculation. That's a calculation right there.
He was like, I don't even know if Grayson Harris is an actual football player in college.
He's a good slot receiver. He is.
But he's saying he's probably going to be a baseball player. He may not even play football in college. He doesn't even know. That's why he commit.
But we've got 3 5'9" or low or shorter 165-pound receivers. I mean, we have Brendan Thompson, KJ Daniels, and Zion Reagans. We don't need to be 4 deep there. We need guys. If you're going to bring in 5 wide receivers next year, 3 high school guys, 2 portal guys make a lot more sense than 5 high school guys, right? It's at some point the scholarship numbers, the 105 or 85, whatever OU's working against, are just going to dictate some of these answers. The only thing, Chris and Jason, I'm confused about, which I said on my podcast last night, if you haven't listened to the 360 Recruiting Podcast, you could do that. Okay. Well, okay. I don't know what running back they're talking about, but
Patton.
He's not going to the Gators. But anyway,
2026 guy. I mean, who gives a shit?
He's going to A&M. That's probably where he's going. So whatever. That's fine. Again, we can find another running back. Okay. Since we can find running backs. This is
Blaylock still coming? Is Tory Blaylock still coming?
Probably, yeah. I mean, let's find out what DeMarco says. I mean, obviously, Emmett Jones has posted, let's go. Well, he said LFG, but he said, he's ready to get things going. That Hatton commit thing's been wandering around for 3 weeks. It's not like new news. It's been rumbling. A&M's pushing his buttons. He's from San Antonio. They're working him hard. Could DeMarco reel him back in if he sticks around and we do well next year? Yeah, of course he can. But we're talking 2025 here. If you're going to bring in 5 wide receivers, 3 high school guys, and two portal studs make a lot more sense. And we're going to be going through this. The issue I don't quite understand right now, maybe the portal will clarify this a little bit, is why we're not adding more high school defensive line and defensive ends, D tackles and D ends. I don't understand why we're sticking with just Trenton Wilson and CJ Nixon. I know Alexander Shield Knight is technically a defensive end, but I just don't see him playing the edge in the SEC. He's not long enough or fast enough or twitchy enough. Alexander Shield Knight would make a great fullback, H-back for OU. I don't see having watched his film, I just don't see he could survive in the Big 12, but he's just he can't survive. We can't survive with a player like that at edge in the SEC. Maybe I'll be wrong on that, but I just don't see it. So that means you only have one edge player in Nixon, and you only have one interior defensive lineman in Trenton Wilson, and those numbers scare me. So maybe the portal will will change my approach on that, but for right now, those numbers scare me.
Well, here's the question I would have. We talked a lot about this. It was discretionary money or whatever you want to call it. Is that money available? Are they going to go out there and be able to get those guys in the portal that are impact players right now? If it's an edge guy that, like we talked about, or a guy like Micah Hudson coming from Texas Tech, 5-star guy that could make an immediate impact. Is that money available? Is that in the works?
Last I heard, it was. I mean, that was the decision that was made that was made 4 weeks ago after the South Carolina game, when they were like, okay, we're going to give Brent a vote of confidence, and we're going to give Brent, we're going to take Brent's buyout money and put it into NIL. So last I heard, that happened. We'll see after the NIL season is over, when the portal season is over, whether if we see a dramatic difference in the quality of players that OU is able to pick up and who they beat these guys for. So if we see us beating Ole Miss and Tennessee for guys, then I think you'll have your answer, Jason. But until then, it's a really good rumor, but I've heard it multiple places, and it seemed to make sense. So, and you've heard them talk about giving Brent all the tools to aggressively improve the team for next year. So I would imagine it's going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see the results. Proof is in the pudding, to use a really old phrase. If we see OU go out and grab a superstar defensive end that everybody else in the NIL world wants, then I think we'll have our answer. If they grab a cornerback, or an offensive lineman everybody wants, I think we'll kind of have our answer.
So, this is a good one. Sooner Freak 29. He says the decommits you're seeing, they are dropping the offers so they can hit the portal and get kids that that's already ready, that will make an impact at the beginning of the season. So you said that, Chris Mason. So I guess where we're at now in the portal, because it is portal season, folks, believe it or not, kids are not just jumping in there for no reason, right? Sooner Cowboy says Hudson probably going to Texas. I don't know. Oregon could come in there and sweep in and make an incredible offer as well. But I know this. I would love for OU to jump in there, but are we too enamored with the kid's talent as far as, like, can he really help us next year? You know what I'm saying? I guess that's kind of the motto or the mantra that we're going with this offseason.
Well, the problem with him right now is, do you go with his potential, or are we going to go with wide receivers that have much better production?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what was going on there at Texas Tech. I have no idea. Jason, you probably know better than we do.
Is he just not that good? And he was an overrated 5-star? Because we see the overrated 5-star wide receivers all the time. John Tate Cook
caught 8 balls this year. I don't know if it was a situation. I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch much Tech this year.
That's more than I watched.
Yeah, I didn't really watch much of them.
This is
as far
somebody
as
that they keep throwing in here as well as Brown Dindy. I
Now,
mean,
he has 3 years, as I understand it, to play.
mhm.
oh,
So if Todd Bates thinks that's someone he can, now that he's admitted he's a defensive tackle and he's not playing this game that I'm really a defensive end, which is why he didn't want to stay with his OU verbal to begin with, right? Because he knew that OU was going to make him a 3 technique, which is what he is. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He's a 3 technique.
right.
Or
He's not an edge guy.
You're not an edge. You're not an edge rusher at that size.
Right.
And I doubt he's actually 6'4", but whatever. Let's just pretend he is.
It's just so crazy.
I think Bates will kick the tires on him, and with him having 3 years, that fits in nicely in terms of Bates can improve him. By the time he's a senior, who knows what Todd Bates can? I mean, Todd Bates can get out of me. We've seen great improvement from every defensive tackle who's played from him. So, I mean, good, maybe not great, maybe great strong, but we've seen consistent good improvement from our defensive tackle room year over year, right?
I'm gonna piss some people off. Dare I say David Hicks gets into the portal this year? I don't know. It just seems like with Texas Tech, man, it's just like it was a lot of fools go down there. Not saying that the players are not talented. We've seen what Overton has done up there in his time at Ole Miss, but or was it? Yeah, Overton went to Ole Miss, and then who went?
Basically. So Overton went to Alabama, and he's been hot. He's been hot and cold there.
Yeah,
he started hot, and he hasn't.
Who was
been
that
very
went to Ole Miss?
Well, Walter Nolan. He's been
pretty. Yeah.
He's been damn good. But I mean,
there's
a no-brainer.
Talent there. I'm not saying that, but it just feels like with Jimbo, hey, come here. Yeah. Then we'll let you play defensive end and all. Yeah, put your ass right there and smack dab in the middle. You're not playing. So.
They lie about a lot of that kind of stuff anyway. I mean, just to get them there, and then they put them where they want to anyway. Same thing. But
it seems like it's very apparent with what Jimbo was doing. But
same with those drink things. Same with old drink.
Yeah,
and Green.
Man, I know a lot of people. Wide receivers, all the rest of this stuff. Who all in the portal have you guys seen this pop in? That you're like, hey, what's up with that kid? I know that Georgia Tech offensive tackle, that's something I would keep an eye on. I like him a lot. I like that offensive tackle a lot. But is that a guy that you go get? Or are you trying to get a bigger name, bigger, even more production, or what are you trying to do? I mean, Chris Mason kind of just got us through the portal as far as kind of what you're hearing. Obviously, we know they want to be very aggressive in the portal. We've heard that, hey, they're going to have money to spend in the portal to go out there and make Ole Miss type moves.
I wouldn't say anybody has entered the portal yet that is one of those, okay, that's a name you aggressively go out and drop a large bag on. Nobody.
Even like a Jaheim Hodis or anybody like that, Bear Alexander. Would you take chances on those two guys?
No. We don't need a 6'5", 360-pound defensive tackle. It doesn't work for our scheme. And I don't know, guys that can't hack it at Bama. I mean, that's a mixed bag at best. Really, really, it is. I mean, look at the Brockenmeyers and it's a mixed bag. I guess
if you're not excelling at Alabama, then
it's a reason. It's a reason why.
Probably, yeah. Almost.
I mean, so I don't know. That's a defensive tackle. I mean, there's a kid from Fresno just hit it. A 6'3", 300-pound defensive tackle has been very productive. I think you kick the tires on Gabriel Dindy Brownlow. Can't believe I'm saying that name again. I think you kick the tires there. But in terms of like a wide receiver, I'm like, wow, go get that guy. Hasn't happened yet, right? In terms of a defensive end, where I would say, whoa, go get that kid, hasn't happened yet. In terms of a cornerback, hasn't happened, and there's not been an offense. The one offensive tackle is interesting is is it the Western Carolina guy? There's been one offensive tackle that's interesting, but he's getting a lot of attention already. So, but no, there's no names that have just leapt where I'm like, wow, that guy's hit the portal. We need to we need to be running into it. I mean, a lot of the guys are. I mean, it's a lot of average wide receivers, average quarterbacks, and there's some D line. A couple of good. There's a defensive lineman from a lower level that just hit the portal that looks interesting. 6'5", 260-pound defensive end, but he's from a lower level, so I don't know that much about him.
You're not talking about the kid from Tulsa, are you?
Not lower level.
Okay.
Lower level.
How lower can you get?
The Tulsa, there are levels lower. There are football levels lower than Tulsa. It may not seem possible, but there are. So I just don't think yet, some of the names that OU probably, there's no names I would say that OU just has to run out and aggressively pursue right now. Now, Mateer says there's a rumor he's going to be in the portal. He can't be in the portal until Monday. Steve G, if you say so, I have not done any research on TCU. Looks like crap every time I see them because I have watched a little TCU football this year.
What did you do that for?
Punishment. I love the look of Sonny Dykes getting the business done to him. I don't know.
I watched them play O State. I'd say they didn't look that bad.
Well, that's O State. Everybody looked good against O State, right?
I mean, very true.
I mean, even the Colorado defense looked like the steel curtain against O State. The week after Kansas, ran up for 400 yards on them, Okie State got 30 yards. So I haven't seen a difference makers yet. Doesn't mean they're not coming, but no one yet where I just said, wow, that guy, that's someone OU needs to go all out on. I'll also say this. I haven't seen a whole bunch of what I would call the tamper class of players hitting the portal yet either. So start watching for that to happen. After the championship games, you're going to start to see, and after the bowl, the playoffs get seeded, and by Monday, you're going to start seeing a whole other class of player, I think, hit the portal, where you're like, oh, wow, where did that guy come from? It's because there is tampering going on. We know that we're gonna lose someone due to tampering. I can't tell you who that is, but there's some poor Sooner kid who's being spun a story of success and riches elsewhere that will lead them to hit the portal, even though they probably have a good development future at OU. I mean, Caden Green, if you look back on this, should he have left OU? No. I mean, just development-wise, he does. I don't think he's going to go anywhere at Missouri versus what was going on at Oklahoma. So, but something will happen there. So, but we'll see. But signing day is less than 48 hours away. We're going to do a live stream. We've been potting a lot lately. We're going to do another live stream on signing day. I'm going to have Chris and Jason join us, and we're going to talk about the guys that OU has actually signed. I have to say signed because I can't change that language. I have to do the air quotes because I don't know what they're actually signing or.
No, they're getting their financial aid packages in order and stuff like that. Once you secure that, then you can't be tampered with. It's actually a better situation than just a letter of intent.
So we'll have the news to talk about that on Wednesday and talk about recruiting just hardcore for a little while and argue over how OU's done. But
Randall Sheriff, are you your poor little 0-9 Okie Lighters?
Oh no, he looks like he's a Texas fan. Let him have
he just said, remember, OU ran away from OU.
I saw that. He's been up here commenting. I haven't paid him any mind.
Yeah, here's something for him.
The brand has finally returned. Your brand.
Hey, hit the like button though while you're on here.
Shout out
to Jason gonna be on later tonight. What are you talking about?
So, man. I'm done for the day.
People, look, Arbuckle is the new OC at OU. We've been on here for about an hour and 9 minutes. We've been kicking it with y'all. We've been talking some noise. We made y'all laugh, talked about Stillwater. And of course, the Texas fans are coming here at the very end. Texas fans, hit the like button, man. Subscribe to the channel. hear about all the news and all the rest of that stuff. Trust me, at the end of the day, we'll all be at the same place. No championships. You guys will laugh about the portal. We've been there 4 times. We know how to. Excuse me, not the portal. But we know what the college football playoffs feels like. The actual playoff, not a 12-team expanded playoff for everybody and a mama to get in. But we'll leave that alone. Y'all enjoy y'all time in there. But anyways, guys, any parting shots? Any final thoughts about what's going on at the University of Oklahoma?
I was just let me ask this real quick. Texas probably going to avenge their only loss, and it's going to piss him off to see, dude. They're going to get boat raced in Atlanta.
He's Cowboy. Let him milk. He's
such a whiny ass.
That's my guy, though.
Gonna get killed. No, hey, look, I think it was a step in the right direction just to get the damn hire made today. That was the biggest thing for me. It was like, what are we waiting on? It's been 2 days since the game was over with. You needed to. I mean, you got a couple of days until the portal's open completely. You're hearing all this kind of stuff going on. Yeah.
So, for what it's worth, OU just offered a 4-star running back for 2026. DeMarco just offered a 4-star running back. So,
to replace the other one?
Well, I guess. But like, if you're wondering if DeMarco's staying, the fact he just offered another running back for 2026 today, that might give you a minor indication. Notice Joe John Finley is not offering any tight ends lately. So just to let you know,
JJF is still here.
Bastard.
There's a riot on the head. Chris Mason, what you got to say, man?
I think Arbuckle may not be. I think lots of guys could succeed here next year to the level we need to get back to being a competent offense to combine with a good defense, with a great defense. I think the Arbuckle has the best chance to get us healthiest, the quickest. Does that mean he's the right guy? I don't know, but I think he has the best odds of doing that.
People, we will find out very, very soon. Spring games don't tell you everything that you need to know, but this spring game here will tell us, okay, how simple is this offense going to be? How good can it be? Also, what is he going to do for the players to really get them all on the field and get max effort out of them, right? But also, who the hell is going to be healthy at OU? Because I think that is the question that everybody wants to know. Parting shot that I'll give. I talked to a dude at work today, and he said, why you keep talking about Nussmeier so much? I said, because when he came back into the game from what looked like a 4 to 6 week recovery from a broken collarbone, you sit there and you think to yourself, him coming back into that game and then, balling out. Let's just be real.
He walked out of the locker room and threw from the tunnel.
He looked like Larry Bird coming out there. Like I saw a white dove fly out. And I said, oh my God. But anyways, it was a slap in the face. And it was a direct slap in the face to the OU medical staff. So people, I think we're obviously
we don't have tiger tranquilizers in our locker room.
Obviously, we don't have something. We have beaver tranquilizers, tiger tranquilizers. We don't have nothing. But regardless, though, it was a slap in the face. So that's kind of my parting shot. Was like, we got to be better. Compliance is compliance. The medical staff seems to be the medical staff. I don't think it's anything with BV's practices. I don't think it's anything with Smitty. I just think that we need to figure out the best way to get our guys back on the field and to stay on the field. So some of the stuff you can't, the Jaden Gibson thing, that is what it is. But to not have Andrew Anthony the entire season, whether or not he's Derrick Rosen or not, things that we got to fix. But people, we got our guy. I feel like we got our guy. I am excited about this. Excited for some fresh blood, fresh looks, all those different things. There is a lot of news to come. The portal is open now. Best believe it. Hell, the portal been open since last June. So tampering is going on. Portal will be open soon officially. We got a day and a half or so before we get this signing. I mean, this class in here, and we can stop talking about that, and we can go from there. With that being said, people, we're out. We will see you soon.